What's going on, Dodger fans? Hope everyone has a good weekend ahead. We are recording here in live Friday, June 20th. The Los Angeles Dodgers survive a pretty tense series with the San Diego Padres. They took 3 of 4. We've got so much to dive into, but a quick overview real quick as you're listening to the Incline Dodgers podcast presented by TickPick and Fansided. Kevin Klein here on the mic right now with Jake Reiner, but wanted to recap real quick, everyone. Your Los Angeles Dodgers are now 46-30. They hold a 3.5 game lead over the San Francisco Giants for first place in the NL West, and the San Diego Padres fall to 5 games back behind the Dodgers. It was a brutal stretch. The Dodgers played 29 games in a row with competition of playoff-worthy teams. They went 17-12 during that span, including kind of a good momentum out of there, taking those 3 of 4 against the Padres, as I just mentioned. And now they got a lighter schedule, actually the easiest schedule remaining in all of Major League Baseball. But let's focus on this Dodgers-Padres series. Where do we even start, Jake Reiner?
I don't know. I mean, it was really entertaining. It always is with these two teams, and the Dodgers, once again, proving that they are the superior team, the superior franchise, more put together, measured. Just the way that they handled all this controversy, I felt was really unique and special to this franchise and the way it's run. And the Padres, I don't know, they just continue to be whiny players, whiny managers. They it was such a it was a lot of theater going on. I mean, 8 batters hit in the series. That's insane. Tatis got hit 3 times. I will say this though. I mean, I don't even know where to begin because there's so many things to recap here, but it was like eye for an eye, basically the whole series, like guys getting plunked left and right. But I never once felt that in each one of the cases where a Dodgers pitcher hit a Padres batter, I never felt that any of those times were intentional. I mean, you look at the context of where they were in the game, tight situations, don't want to put an extra runner on base, the count. I mean, so many different things are going on. The Dodgers would not be wanting to hit. I'm sure the Dodgers don't want to hit Tatis 3 times. But the fact is that it's noticeable that they are hitting their star player 3 times. So you can expect maybe to wear it. But I just felt like with the way it ended with the benches clearing, I guess we'll start at the end. With the benches clearing and Mike Shildt getting pissed off at Dave Roberts when Jack Little, who's making his major league debut, is on the mound facing Tatis and he hits him in the hands. I understand Shildt being upset that his star player's getting hit again, but read the room, dude. Like, you're a baseball guy. You know that he's not trying to hit him here. Dave took out the entire heart of our order in the previous inning. This was just a formality at this point. The Dodgers have conceded this game. Another thing I want to get into, but they conceded this game. And at that point, it's like, what do you think? That Little is really trying to hit Tatis? That's crazy. And then, of course, Robert Suarez should have been ejected for hitting Ohtani. That was egregious. Both times Ohtani got hit were intentional. No doubt about it.
Oh, easily. Yeah. And don't worry, Kenny Chung. We'll get to that. That has me mad too. But yeah, I mean, of any Dodgers-Padres regular season series matchup, this had to have been the most dramatic and most tense between the two franchises ever. You mentioned 8 batters hit by the pitches. It was basically 4 on 4. Pages got hit once. Ohtani got hit a couple times. Tatis got hit 3 times, like you mentioned.
Pages got hit twice.
Thank you. And Iglesias was the other one. He got hit near the wrist. Back and forth, like you said, eye for an eye. I do feel like it was pretty transparent nearly every time the Padres were hitting the Dodgers hitters. And it's just classless the way they were going after Shohei Ohtani. I mean, no player is above any other player, but they just made it so malicious the way they were throwing at Shohei Ohtani. And what's disgusting about throwing near his back and near his elbow, that one incident, is this is a guy that's trying to return to the mound and build himself up as a starting pitcher. And if one of those intentional inside or just throwing at him pitches hits his elbow or his shoulder, you're throwing out the best player in baseball doing his two-way thing. And that would have been a huge disgrace to the game and Bush League.
Yeah, it was. And I think, I don't know, it just felt like Mike Shilt's anger was a little displaced. It didn't make very much sense. Like he just, every time he got mad, it was like, you think we're trying to hit Jose Iglesias? Really? That's a guy you got to go after. He's not a good hitter. You think we're trying to hit their I don't even know what to call him. They're one of their, role players that had to, leave the game. You think we're trying to hit those guys? I mean, it's insane. I found the Roberts ejection though in the first game hilarious. I felt that once Ohtani got plunked and the warnings were issued, Dodgers, can come out and question that. That is allowed. That is something that Dave knows. He's been a manager since 2016, been around the game long enough to know that if a manager wants an explanation as to why warnings are being issued, you should be allowed to do that. Instead, he was thrown out from the mound. That's where the umpire threw him out from, because he took one step onto the field, and then he got into it with the crew chief. He's barking at him that this third base umpire has no feel for the game, and all of that stuff was hysterical. But then, Roberts gets tossed. He gets run out of the game. And then next thing you know, Mike Shildt is coming out of the dugout, and they're talking to him and explaining things to him and not throwing him out when he asked for an explanation. So I don't understand where this anger is coming from the Padres side. It just seems like this is
we know where the anger is coming from. They're resentful. They're jealous that the Dodgers continue to knock them out of the playoffs. They get the top players. But
it's so childish. It's so childish. It really is. Like, just beat us. I mean, you did in 2022.
Also, how much of a grudge do you think Mike Shildt has against the Dodgers when he was the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals and Chris Taylor hit that walk-off home run and then Shildt was basically canned like the next day, essentially? You have to think that's something he holds a grudge against too.
Absolutely. I think that Shildt, likes to fancy himself an old school manager. And I think he is kind of that old school baseball mind, but he gets his panties in a bunch a lot. He is really, and I know he's trying to stand up for his guys, but there's no, Roberts was screaming at the umpire, had no feel for the game. Mike Shildt has no feel for the game. Like, read the room, look at the context. We're not, in every situation, we're not trying to hit their players. Now, on the other hand, I wish they wouldn't hit Tatis as much as they are doing. I don't like that. I mean, I know they're trying to jam him and not let him get extended, but too many of these pitches are slipping, and none of them are intentional, but they are slipping a lot.
Yeah, it's unfortunate Tatis got hit 3 times when Manny Machado was the biggest yapper in this entire series. And we'll talk about Machado and all of his comments in a second. But I just wanted to also point out that the umpiring in this series as a whole was just atrocious. And it kind of feels like it's been that way very recently in a lot of these Dodgers big series. You had Tripp Gibson, I believe is his name. Hopefully
that's the guy who threw out Roberts.
Yeah, he threw out Dave Roberts, and he's also the same umpire that called the interference play on Max Muncy in that Mets series when Teoscar Hernandez threw that ball to third base or to home plate and blocked allegedly the Mets base runner when it should have been out.
Ridiculous. That was a ridiculous call. I'm bummed I wasn't on the podcast after that or near that, because that pissed me off so much. Nobody wants that called. Nobody wants that called. I've never even seen that call even ever in the amount of time that I've watched baseball. It was ridiculous. There was no way he was blocking his view. He was out by a country mile. So it felt like to me that there was some animosity there from Tripp Gibson toward Dave Roberts in that situation, given the history of it. And also because Dave was barking at Tripp Gibson. He was the home plate umpire the day before. So, and his zone was kind of very erratic and didn't make sense. So I think that there's a lot of history here that is built in, and which is why it makes it so compelling to watch, and not just, a random, Dodgers Padres game in June.
Yeah. And there was one other play that was just so atrocious. Maybe the worst called ball in the history of my baseball watching viewership in my lifetime. So this ties into the finale game where Yoshinobu Yamamoto had an immaculate inning going. And on the very ninth pitch, what should have been what seals the deal to make it an immaculate inning, it's nearly a strike in the middle of the strike zone, and the home plate umpire calls it a ball. Ultimately, Yamamoto got out of it anyways. I think he had a strikeout and
He did.
No damage done. But it's just frustrating that you had the most clearest day, strike 3, and they called it a ball. Just another example of how bad these umpires were in this series.
Yeah, and that play was interesting because I watched the replay a couple of times, and obviously on the K zone or whatever they call it, it was a strike. It wasn't even close. It wasn't even like a borderline call. It was like middle, basically, almost. But I did notice that Will Smith, when he caught the ball, he looked like he could have been blocking the home plate umpire because he stood up a little bit. And if you notice afterwards, they cut to Yamamoto and he has a look on his face like, you sure about that? But it wasn't like, oh, it was so egregious. And Will Smith certainly didn't react to it. So I think I could give the umpire a little bit of grace in that sense, but I agree. Like, you got to know that ball's right down the middle.
That was Marvin Hudson. Just a horrible call. I don't even know what to say, but I appreciate everyone tuning into the live stream right now. Hit that like button for us if you haven't hit the like button yet, and you can drop some questions. We'll answer your questions along the way. I was trying to find out Yoshinobu Yamamoto's run support this season. I know 2 starts ago it was the 3rd lowest, and clearly it hasn't gotten any better because once again Yoshinobu Yamamoto put together a quality start yesterday, and at that time when he exited the game, he had 0 run support. So you kind of feel for Yamamoto. He's pitching his ass off, and the Dodgers offense just isn't there to back him up. I know Xander Bogaerts had quite the day against him. He went 4 for 4 overall in the game. The Dodgers dropped that finale 5-3, but I know Kenny Chung was talking about it. I want to talk about it. Why the hell did Dave Roberts wave the white flag in a divisional game when you have the chance to sweep? It's not like they have a formidable foe waiting for them. It's the Washington Nationals, nowhere near significance as this series. And so the Dodgers were down 3-0. They go to Jack Little, clearly him making his major league debut. He's going to have some nerves. He definitely showed it. He was erratic with his command, hit Tatis, gave up a couple runs. And earlier during that sequence, he pulls Betts, he pulls Smith, Freeman pulled, and this kind of comes back to bite the Dodgers because we get to the 9th inning, the Dodgers start to rally. Suarez hits Ohtani on a 3-0 count, that malicious stuff we're talking about. But ultimately, you had Will Smith against Matsui of the, hopefully that's if I butchered it,
Yuki Matsui
of the Padres, the lefty, the go-ahead run at the plate. And instead of it being Will Smith, you had Dalton rushing. And that was just unfortunate to me. I don't really know why Dave Roberts conceded that game. I know this is kind of their thing now and then every few often they do this in a series where they just punt a game. Matt Sauer was an example at the San Diego Padres series, and then they do it in this game. So I was frustrated, no doubt about it.
When he pinch hit Rojas for Mookie, the Dodgers were down 3-0 at that time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It makes it even worse. I remember watching it at that point and seeing Rojas on deck, and I was like, what the hell is going on? First I thought Mookie was injured, and then I was like, oh God, that sucks. And then you see rushing pinch hit, you see Kike Hernandez pinch hit, and I was like, what are we doing? I understand trying to preserve the bullpen and sending Jack Little out there. I get that. it's a long season. The Dodgers starting pitchers haven't gone deep into games. Typically, you got to save the bullpen. So I get that, even though sometimes I wish Roberts would go to one of his high leverage relievers in some of these games, but I get the logic. Taking your offense off the field when you're down 3-0 at home in the 8th inning, I don't, there's no world in which you could explain that to me where I would change my mind about how I feel about that. It was abhorrent. This team can score can put up a crooked number at any point in time. You're telling me that a 3-0 deficit at that point, this team couldn't overcome? I mean, hello, all it would take is a couple of hits and a 3-run homer and you tie the game. It made no sense to me. I get these guys off their feet for what? Bench them in the next game against the Nationals. Who cares? It made no sense to me. It infuriated me. And I knew that we were going to have Rojas and Russian coming up with the game on the line. You just knew that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, that was frustrating. I can't back the logic there. I get it if they're down 5-0 or 6-0 and then they pull them. But 3-0, we know this Dodgers team. They're resilient. They come back. They're the comeback team. They basically are in a deficit every game. 3 runs was not insurmountable. So weird punt. I don't get it. We can move on.
The good news is that they did take 3 of 4. So that,
yes.
all things considered, they didn't get the sweep, but 17-12 over this last stretch of, playoff contending teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to feel good about that, given the fact we did not have our best pitching and
Right.
Mostly injured.
Totally. They didn't get a taste of really our aces at all, but I would have loved to bury them. I think if they had come back in that game and they did the 4-game sweep, that would have just mentally broke the Padres. And I don't know if they would have been able to recover for the rest of the season, but alas,
that's why you got to go for the jugular. That's why you have to leave those hitters in.
So I talked about that yapper, Manny Machado. After the game, he issued a warning to the Dodgers. I mean, this guy is mostly all talk anyways, but he said, let's just hope the Fernando Tatis CT scans come back negative.
And
they
they
gotta
did.
pray. They need to set a little candle up. Just silly comments there.
Ridiculous.
I don't think we got an update yet on Tatis, but
no, I did hear an update on him. They were negative. It came back negative, the MRI.
Okay.
So yeah, ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. The Dodgers are, what happens to these teams sometimes when you forget what the context of baseball is. Like, I don't understand. It just goes out the window and these guys become morons. I don't understand it. We're not trying to hit Tatis ever. Like, it's stupid. It's stupid. We don't do that.
We got some breaking news here on the Incline Dodgers. So speaking of Jack Little, he's been demoted to AAA. The Dodgers apparently are calling up my long lost cousin, Will Klein. He's added to the active roster.
All right.
We'll see what he brings. Will Klein, Dodgers relief pitcher coming out of the bullpen.
Dodgers, I mean, I think we lead the league in the most random relievers ever. Like every year there are guys where I've just never heard of in my life are now putting on a Dodger uniform.
We're going to break the record for most pitchers used in a season in Dodgers franchise history. I just know we're going to pass that feat.
I mean, we lead the league in bullpen innings, for Christ's sake.
That we do. Speaking of frustrations in bullpen, so in the 3rd game of this series, Emmett Sheehan was able to come off the injured list and start a game for the Dodgers, and he looked great. The stuff was there. He didn't walk anyone. The location was pinpoint accurate. I loved the movement and the velocity of his fastball. I think he got up to 97. That was his max speed, so I'm very happy with that. Everything was working for Emmett Sheehan. He threw 4 innings of 1-run ball against the Padres, and then Justin Robleski came in and cleaned it up for the last 5 innings. I know it got a little bit choppy there in the 9th inning where the Dodgers blew their 3-0 lead and it became a 3-3 game. But someone was a hero, which we'll talk about in a second. But just Emmett Sheehan looked really good. I was excited for him to be a part of this Dodgers rotation for the foreseeable future. And then they optioned him down to Oklahoma City the next day for Jack Little, which frustrated me a lot.
Well, you got to imagine that he's going to be coming up the next time there's an opening in the rotation, right? I mean,
There's like a 15-day rule unless there's an injury. So it's kind of annoying that now we won't see him till July 1st at the earliest, unless someone goes on the IL.
I don't know. I actually don't get the thinking there. What is that about? And Robleski pitched well too, I thought, up until the ninth inning. I mean, it's unfortunate that Max Muncy couldn't give Tommy Edman a good throw to complete the double play, but also Tommy Edman, that's a catchable ball. Like, you got to make that catch. I mean, it's not the best throw, but you got to make that catch. Other things from that game, Pages is on another planet. Like, he is white hot and he owned the Padres. And that was really awesome to see. Also, him getting involved in the fray. When he was hit in the back, I felt like that was not intentional at all. Like, that was the one time I felt like the Padres weren't trying to hit us, and he took exception to that. So, and the thing about the Dodgers is that they told him that. I mean, Dave Roberts came out and said, that was not intentional, and they kind of tampered it down, and they said this is a non-issue. You don't see that. You don't see that coming from the Padres side. They're always whining. They're always complaining, and they're not doing a lot of winning. So I feel like that should be the goal. And instead, they're either fighting with us or fighting with each other in the dugout. This team is and they have no championships. It is so like loser energy, just loser energy every time.
So I mentioned that the Padres were able to fight back. The error did happen, helped them get in the game and eventually tie it. I know this didn't happen with runners in scoring position, but did you know Will Smith leads all of Major League Baseball right now with runners in scoring position?
Yes.
He has a .433 batting average, and he's also got the best OPS as well, on base plus slugging, 1,200. Only player in all of baseball to have a 1,200 plus OPS with runners in scoring position. Hit the walk-off home run, 8th home run on the season. It's a runaway race right now. There's no other catcher in the National League that should be even close to Will Smith for that National League All-Star starting catcher position. This is the best I've ever seen of Will Smith. And what I love about how the Dodgers have been managing him, they're giving him enough off days where he just continues to look fresh. And I think the big thing we've talked about before is Will Smith looking fresh and hitting like he is right now in the second half. Because if they have the first half Will Smith in the second half and the postseason, then this Dodgers offense is going to be relentless and a juggernaut and a force to come in October. And a big takeaway that I have to also add, and it came at the expense of Austin Barnes. This is why Austin Barnes needed to go, because they had to have a backup catcher in there that they could start more than they were comfortable with when it came to Austin Barnes in Dalton rushing. I know the offense hasn't been all there for rushing. He did have a big 2-run base hit, though, in this Padres series. I believe that was what put them up 3-0 in this game 3. But nonetheless, with Rushing's defense, he's able to throw out runners, and they can start him twice a week. It's just been a huge benefit for Will Smith.
And I think that's what was the calculation there to release Barnes, because if it was based on offense, he would have been gone a long time ago. But the defense declined so much that it was like, what purpose do you serve? You can't keep runners from taking an extra base. So at least having that part of the game from Rushing, and apparently he calls a pretty good game, works well with the pitchers from what I've been able to glean, that is the strategy. Make sure that Will Smith is fresh for the second half, and it doesn't happen to him again. It was a perfect decision that they made. And yeah, Dalton Rushing had a big 2-run double in that game. The offense is a little, not as good as we were seeing in AAA this year. So he's hitting 209 in 43 at-bats with a home run and 9 RBIs. Not great. But like you said, the defense is what's keeping him in there. Will Smith, just a word on him. He is become a complete hitter. he has developed the eye that Max Muncy has, and is able to work these counts. And the walk-off home run that he hit was an incredible at bat. It was a 12 pitch at bat that he was fouling off and taking tough pitches, and basically had a home run down the left field line towards the pole. And typically when that happens, you don't then see the guy hit a home run on the next pitch, but he drives the ball the other way and wins the game. And I love Will Smith. I think he might be my favorite player this year. I'm kind of thinking that it's either him or Hae-Sung Kim, but it's got to be Will Smith. I mean, Will Smith has been everything for this team so far this year.
Will Smith and Andy Pages are in a tie right now for second highest Fangraphs WAR on the Dodgers. Ohtani's first, of course, but both Smith and Pages have a 2.9 WAR. We're nearly at the halfway mark too for this season. So they're basically at a 6 WAR pace if they were able to keep it up. So that's just phenomenal for the Dodgers. Let's do some quick questions real quick, then get back to talking. So Justin Yamas, where are your candles? My candles are in the living room, but I did not light a candle for Fernando Tatis Jr. because he might be the player right now in all of baseball that I like the least. And it's not because of his antics and him being on the Padres. It's honestly because he was a performance-enhancing user, and I feel like we kind of just let him off the hook.
Yeah, I don't like Tatis, but he's a really good player, and I think he's actually kind of toned it down. The guy that continues to be loud is Manny Machado. I mean, that guy just does not shut up. But you know, the thing is you kind of take that with him because he does actually own us, like he destroys us. So you kind of have to let him run his mouth if he's doing that. It's another thing if you're like a Jurickson Profar running your mouth or a Trent Grisham, you know, or those guys aren't really doing a lot of damage. But Machado is, you know, he's a great player. He's just a dick.
He's like the ultimate heel and backs up his play. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. So we can tolerate that. But for me, Tatis, he had all the talent in the world, and kind of like a Yasiel Puig seemed to have just seems to have thrown it away. And I don't view Tatis as anywhere near.
Well, there's no way.
Right now. And
there's no way. I mean,
they gave him all that money up front, and he doesn't really seem to be kind of.
Well, right now, getting popped for steroids is a death sentence for the Hall of Fame. So I don't think you're going to have to worry about that unless the writers change their mind down the road.
Right. Craig Osterberg, thank you for tuning in, Craig. Why do the Dodgers never give Ohtani a day off?
I think it's pretty simple. He's a DH. Not a lot of miles, or there's not a lot of effort that he's putting into on the field itself. So you're able to have the DH bat every day, and if you can put Ohtani in the lineup every day, you're going to do that. So I don't see the reason why they would.
I could see the Dodgers giving Ohtani some days off once he starts to get stretched out and his pitching.
Yeah, well, that's that's one thing we haven't talked about yet.
They might sit him the next. But I think it's what you just said. He's the designated hitter, and on top of that, I mean, if he's feeling good, people are coming to the stadium every day to see Shohei Ohtani, and that was one thing that pissed me off with load management in the NBA. Is fans are traveling from all over the world, all over the country to see the LeBron James, the Kawhi Leonard, whatever star player you're thinking of. And most of these guys sit 10 to 15 games a year. And that's got to be frustrating as a fan when this is your one game a year. So I feel like the mindset here with Ohtani is this could be that fans one game a year.
Yeah, on a smaller scale, this reminded me, I went the other night with my girlfriend to a comedy show, and we went to the comedy show because I like this comedian, Adam Ray, and I wanted to see him, and he was the headliner. And we went to the show at the Comedy Store, and it was a great show, had a great lineup. But then at the end, they come out and say that Adam Ray had to jump on a flight to Pittsburgh. So Now, and it was funny in the room, people were like, what the fuck? Like they were pissed, but it's like, it's what you're talking about. It's like, you make it special that day to go to the show, to go to the game. And that is your special day. And these tickets are not cheap. I mean, comedy shows are not as expensive as these Dodger and Lakers tickets. So that's great that they can see Ohtani every single day.
So when we did our last recording, that was the night Mike Schilt was yelling at Andy Pajes and said, "Who the F are you?" And then from that moment on, Andy Pajes, it was like waking up a sleeping giant. He just went off in that series. I think it was the second game. He had 2 home runs in one game, piling his season total up to 15 home runs. He's got 50 RBIs now. This guy is, in my mind, playing like a bona fide all-star. He should be on the team. If he's not in the starting lineup, he should be one of the first reserves off the bench. A lot of credit to Andy Pajes, who's just been killing the Padres this season. He's hitting 346 against San Diego, has an OPS of 1,072, a couple home runs, 5 RBIs, and has just been on a complete tear against San Diego. So hopefully the Dodgers have found themselves a Padres killer, where it was like us watching Christian Walker go off against us. I'm hoping that's Andy Pajes now against the San Diego Padres.
Pajes become a real fixture in this lineup. At the beginning of the season, you didn't really know what you were going to get out of him, but at the very least, a serviceable hitter at the bottom of the order that played a decent outfield, hopefully above average. And now you look at him and he is a middle of the order bat, but it doesn't really matter where they bat him in the lineup because he doesn't hit in the same spot every day. But whether they put him second or fourth or seventh or sixth, it doesn't really matter. He rakes, and he's been incredibly clutch. Has hit a couple of like really key 3-run home runs late in games. So he is the complete package right now.
I have to see if the stat still applies, but there was another cool stat about Andy Pajes. So I'm pulling up the split right now to see if it's still applicable. Here we go. Why am I blind? Here we go. Okay. So no, it's not as good as it once was. But Andy Pajes has also been one of the best hitters with runners in scoring position. He's actually been the Dodgers' second best hitter with runners in scoring position. He's hitting 371. So that's actually third right now, third best in the National League. We talked about Smith being 1. Nico Horner
that is randomly
number 2, and then Andy Pajes is number 3 for National League. That's how clutch he's been.
Yeah, and it shows. I mean, he comes up late in games and does heroic things. So he better be an all-star. That's all I can say.
I was debating whether to go down this avenue or not, but we've got a strong candidate right now for idiot of the year. If we're
let's get a candidate. Maybe it's an idiot of the week.
It's going to certainly be both, but it goes out to Keith Olbermann,
I saw this.
Who is just like the definition of old man yelling at clouds. So let's see if I can find it. Oh God, this guy tweets a lot. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. So last night after the game, or maybe it was during the game. Do I have a timestamp here? 9:49. So I think I was actually during the game. Dave Roberts should be suspended for a month. What a childish, amateurish, unprofessional job of making a bad situation exponentially worse. #Dodgers, #Padres. A month? How soft do you have to be? It's not like he was throwing fist out there. I know he may have bumped Schilt a little bit, but it's not like he was throwing. This was not like Malice at the Palace material where you had Dave Roberts going in the stands punching fans. The guy has become so soft. I don't want to get in trouble by going any further than that, but I mean, that's just laughable by Keith Olbermann. I feel like anytime he tweets about sports, it's almost a joke. Like, I don't know if he's just a parody account or the guy is just really that soft and rattled.
It's
these
not only a
days.
bad take, he's wrong. I mean, dead wrong. Did Dave Roberts come screaming out of the dugout and challenge the opposing manager to a screaming match? No, I think that was Mike Schilt that ran out of the dugout when Jack Little plunked Tatis. I think that's what Olbermann is referring to, right? He's referring to the benches clearing brawl. Mm-hmm. So Schilt comes out and starts screaming at Dave Roberts. What is Dave Roberts supposed to do? Just sit there and take it? It's ridiculous. Of course he's going to jump out of the dugout and defend himself and defend his team. What is he talking about? Some of these guys deserve to have their accounts deactivated for how bad their takes are. There should be a bad take meter where your account gets suspended for a month or maybe more, and you shouldn't get to tweet because that's asinine.
Not Dodgers related, but funny timing. Former Dodger, Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher Dennis Santana just got suspended 4 games.
Did
for
you
his
see that video?
Actions for that. I did.
Oh my God.
I'm glad that Dennis Santana is still in our lives one way or another.
Dennis Santana, he's pitching for the Pirates, right? Yeah, pitching for the Pirates on a terrible organization, fighting with fans. So good.
Let's see. Okay, so we've talked a lot of Dodgers Padres, so we'll just kind of get to the cut to the chase here. So in case you didn't know, Dodgers took 3 of 4, and the middle, or not the middle game, the second game of the series was also fun. The Dodgers beat the Padres 8-6. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to Tanner Scott because he got the save in game 2, and he was pitching in a situation where that was his 3rd day in a row of pitching, and the guy has just looked really good for the Dodgers. Let me take a quick pause right there. Hold on, Jake. I gotta close the door.
Yeah, Tanner Scott was. I mean, I think he's turned his season around. Like I mentioned after we did the podcast about about Ohtani pitching, I talked about him and I said that he's a guy that turned his season around when Dave Roberts trusted him back-to-back nights. He had blown a game in the extra innings, and then Roberts went back to him the next night, and he was able to keep the game where it was. And since then has been lights out. And he's trusting his fastball again. He's trusting his secondary pitches. He's going right after these guys, and he's been unhittable. And I think that, did that contract start to look bad? I wouldn't say that contract started to look bad, but you did kind of look at it and be like, like, is this going to be an absolute disaster? But you never really thought that it was like you didn't really convince yourself of it because you knew what Tanner Scott did last year. It's not like this flash in the pan. The guy has been consistently elite very recently. And so you got to figure that that's in there somewhere, which makes me think it was probably some mental thing going on with him that he was able to fix. And now he's dominating, which is so helpful because with this bullpen being injured as it is, they're getting guys back, but still like Michael Kopech, he had that weird balk, almost blew the game. He's been a little shaky. So to have that steadiness at the end of games is so key.
Yeah. Anyways, the moral of why I brought this all up. So I keep saying the middle, the second game, 8-6 Dodgers win. It was just a full-fledged bullpen game, and pretty much everyone, with the exception of a couple guys being Lou Trevino and Matt Sauer, stepped up for the Dodgers. You had Jack Dreyer open. He threw 2 innings. He looked good overall. He's been one of the breakout pitchers for the Dodgers. You had Kopech ultimately get the hold, and that was one of his better outings too. I think that was the Bach game, but he still cleaned his act up nonetheless. Anthony Bonda continues to have turned his season around. He had a hold, and then Tanner Scott was the one who got the save, pitching on the 3 days consecutive outings. I'm just glad the Dodgers bullpen was able to hold on and win that game because this was a statement game. The Padres had hit Ohtani earlier in that game. This was kind of where things started to escalate. And I love that Shohei Ohtani, after the game, posted on his Instagram a picture of him getting hit by the pitch.
I really loved Ohtani's resolve in this. It just shows you he's a different kind of person. A person that doesn't want to have things escalate. He is one of the leaders of this team now. I mean, this is his second season with the team, and he is the best hitter on the team and the biggest star on the team. So the Dodgers taking their cues from him. I've never really seen another superstar or leader of a team call off the dogs, essentially.
I was going
Like
to mention that.
I've never seen that, because when he got hit by Suarez and Suarez was tossed, I think Kershaw and a number of the other veterans were ready to like pounce and clear the benches again. But Ohtani waved them off as if to say, don't worry about it. It's not worth it. Let's just finish this game. And to me, and then he started laughing with the Padres dugout. I don't know what they were talking about, but just a different kind of human being. And we could all take a page out of Ohtani's book.
Yeah, you had the Padres who were looking for a chance to fight any second the opportunity presented themselves. And then you've got Shohei Ohtani just demonstrating nothing but class. That second time, last night when Suarez hit Ohtani, you can look into the dugout and Clayton Kershaw looked like he was ready to get up, throw some fists, but Ohtani waved back and told everyone to sit down. So you've got one classy player, you got one classy star player, and then you got the Padres who are just run by a bunch of knuckleheads. And there's a reason that they don't have the leadership that leads to postseason results. And that's unfortunate, I guess, if you're a Padres fan. But they kind of had it coming. So I don't feel bad for them at all. Is there anything else in this Dodgers Padres series that we need to cover? I feel like we almost broke down everything.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be some other thoughts that pop into my head. I was thinking that we didn't cover Ohtani pitching, but we did a whole episode about that. So I don't think we need to talk about that. But it was a very cool part. I mean, just another cool, like, interesting thing to happen in this series.
Definitely. So in other news and notes, the Dodgers made a trade today. They're adding another reliever to the squad. He's not
Bring
on
him
the
on
active
over.
roster. He's not on the active roster as of today, but the Dodgers are trading for a lefty reliever from the Boston Red Sox. So for cash considerations, they're acquiring lefty Zach Penrod from the Red Sox. He had a 2.25 ERA last season. He only has a few innings in the minors this season. Nothing really to show for it, but another flyer. Dodgers adding to the prior lab.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We'll see if this guy has it in him. I mean, well, I don't know. I have never heard of him before, but maybe that's a good thing.
I feel like most of these relievers now, they go over our heads. Like they just find the most random people that I didn't even know were baseball players.
I know. That's what I was saying. I've never heard of these guys before.
Every now and then, a lot of them end up working out.
Like I'd never heard of Evan Phillips. I'd never heard of Phil Bickford. I had never heard of, any of these guys. I mean, I hadn't heard Trevino's name in a million years. So
definitely. Appreciate everyone tuning in again. Shout out to everyone. I think we've got YouTube memberships now. So if you want to become a member, you can definitely sign up for that. I'll dive into more what YouTube memberships actually means, but probably means more content for you guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate all the people. You can ask us more questions and we'll tackle whatever you guys throw our way. But we're in the fourth quarter here now as we cover the final stuff. So Roki Sasaki moved to the 60-day IL. Didn't find that one too surprising. He is throwing today. And then you've got Tony Gonsolin. He was moved to the 60-day IL. That one kind of came more out of nowhere. And I know I bagged on him a week ago, I think it was a week ago. It just adds more fuel to the fire. Like, I'm just done with Tony Gonsolin. I don't even know if he's ever going to pitch for the Dodgers again, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm out on him too. It's time. It's time to let that go. I think that he the thing is that he has shown flashes of like excellence, I think, in his career with the Dodgers. His ERA was fairly low for a while. The problem though is that he's never been healthy enough to put a like full seasons together. So it's so hard to get a read on him. It's just why it's so hard to get a read on someone like Dustin May, and him being healthy for the first time in his career really has been great to watch. And yeah, he's been shaky and his command hasn't been great, but he is giving us length, 5-6 innings every time out. That's more than what you can say for the rest of some of these guys that can't get out of the fourth inning.
Appreciate a good music question. So we got one from Justin Yamas, as I am wearing my Green Day American Idiot shirt. Kevin, what's your favorite American Idiot song? I mean, there's only one answer. It's Boulevard of Broken Dreams. That was the best song of the year, 2004, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, Green Day. That I feel like that song really re-sparked Green Day's career, and they reclaimed the throne as one of the top rock bands of all time. We've got Los Dodgers World Series champs. Is Yoshinobu tipping his pitches?
Well, if he was, the Padres still couldn't really hit him. Except for Xander Bogaerts. Maybe Xander Bogaerts found something, because Bogaerts was kind of trashed the first few games of this series, and then all of a sudden he starts raking against Yamamoto. He pitched well. I mean, Yamamoto pitched well enough to win the game. He gave up 3 runs, and that was it. Dodgers couldn't score for him. So I had heard that he may have been tipping pitches, but aside from the bad outing he had prior to the one last night, I think he's been great.
Yeah, I don't think he was tipping pitches. So Dodgers Nationals, they begin a 3-game series starting tonight through the weekend. You've got Clayton Kershaw against Mackenzie Gore. Just a quick overview here. It's a pretty good matchup for Clayton Kershaw. The Nationals are a very young team. They've got a couple elite hitters in that lineup with CJ Abrams and James Wood, but we'll go through the Dodgers lineup right now, which is actually what I wanted to quickly highlight. And Freddie Freeman is not in the lineup for the Dodgers today. So he has the off day. This is something that's kind of just changed this is something that's changed this year than what we're kind of accustomed to with Freddie Freeman. He used to never take a day off, and now the Dodgers and Freeman have kind of accepted that with him being a little older in age.
He's been dealing with multiple injuries at the same time. So It's understandable that they're trying to get him off his feet.
So you got Ohtani at DH, Betts at shortstop, Smith batting third catcher, Teoscar right field, Pages center field, Edman second base, Conforto in left field, Kike Hernandez at first base, and Rojas at third base, with Kershaw starting.
Ugh. Disgusting bottom of the order. Kike's been bad. I know we don't expect much from him in the regular season, but bad at bats. Rojas, even though he got a hit last night and a walk, I hate seeing him in the lineup. He's just, I don't know. It's bad juju with him in there. He doesn't promote winning to me. He just doesn't feel like winning baseball. And to me, like, Hyesung Kim has a 3-game hitting streak right now. And why can't he be in there every day? Why? I know they got to get guys like Rojas and Kike in the lineup, and they want to play Conforto, but you don't have to start all 3 of them. Like, that's ridiculous. I've had it with this sort of like, oh, we got to balance out the order. It's like Rojas doesn't hit whether you play him or you don't play him. Like, it doesn't matter, Like, I know that they have to get at bats and all that, but it's like, if he's going to be bad, he's going to be bad.
Yeah, I mean, you would have loved to see them squeeze in Kim in one of those spots. He should be in the lineup right now. He's proven at this point that he can hit lefties, and I understand that they want to get Michael Conforto some at bats still, but at least we kind of got our way. The Dodgers are folding their hand, and they admitted a couple days ago that we'll be seeing less of Michael Conforto in the starting lineup and more of Hyesung Kim. So at least we got that going for us. I feel like it's a battle between Conforto and Miguel Rojas for one of those guys to get DFA'd or traded by the deadline. I don't know if they're both going to survive post deadline. I feel like the Dodgers are going to explore options, whether it's a trade or in-house, and that's just how it is right now, because those are the two worst performing positional players for the Dodgers.
Yes, but and here's my take on that. And again, I don't know if it is between those two, but let's say it is. Let's say it's between Rojas and Conforto. I think Conforto offensively has a way higher ceiling than Rojas right now. In his potential, right? Conforto is a power hitter, and like if he puts it together, he can hit the ball out of the ballpark and go on some sort of streak. You're not expecting any of that from Rojas. You just aren't. He's just not good anymore. And I think his defense, while it is serviceable, the Dodgers don't really need that either. They've got positions covered. They've got guys that can play positions that Rojas plays well. And you just don't need him. Because if you want to get Max Muncy a day off, put Kike Hernandez there. If you want to give Edman a day off, put Kim there. If you want to give Mookie a day off, put Edman or Kim or Kike there. I mean, there are so many options on this team where you don't have to go to Miguel Rojas. And I don't want it anymore. I don't find him to be a winning player right now.
I was hoping this would break while we were doing the show. Breaking news. Dun, dun, dun. Suspensions have been handed down by Major League Baseball.
Let's go.
In the wake of last night's game between the Padres and Dodgers. Robert Suarez, 3 games. Mike Shildt, 1 game. Dave Roberts, 1 game. Suarez will appeal. Roberts and Shildt must serve their suspensions tonight. So pretty minuscule overall.
Yawn.
A little actually more conservative than I expected. I thought Suarez was going to get maybe 5 games and Roberts and Shildt maybe 2 to 3 games each. But yeah, I mean, that's nothing. And I already see Padres fans in the comments online absolutely pissed that Jack Little got let off the hook.
Jack Little? Oh my God. These guys are morons. These guys don't deserve to say their opinions. Morons, Jack Little, please. Did you see how hard Jack Little was breathing out there? I mean, Jesus Christ, he was huffing and puffing and working his ass off to try not to look like a scrub, which he did. He was pitching terrible, but he's a rookie and he's out there for the first time. He's not trying to hit anybody. He doesn't want to put runners on. He had no control. Ridiculous. Shut up.
So yeah, not really a story, but there's the news update and ties to the Padres and Nationals tie here, and this is my second to last final thought. So Mackenzie Gore starting for the Nationals today. He kind of gets a watered down Dodgers lineup. He leads the National League though with 119 strikeouts, so that's something to take note of. I'm expecting some swings and misses by some Dodgers hitters tonight. He's really turned it around, and he's kind of shaping into that Mackenzie Gore that the prospect value touted. So good for him. And then James Wood having a phenomenal all-star season for the Nationals. This has been his breakout season. I guess this is technically his sophomore year, but he's got 20 home runs, 56 RBIs. He's got a 944 OPS, a good eye, a 380 on base percentage. And this is what I was talking about 3 years ago when the Padres were in the Juan Soto hunt. And one, the Padres have no championship to show for it. He's not even on the Padres now. They traded him away. Number 2, I said verbatim that this would end up like the Herschel Walker trade, that they're thinking short term, and in the long-term thinking and long-term outlook, this trade is going to come back to haunt the Padres because they're not going to have the depth and the young cream of the crop core to build around. They could have had a budding star right now in James Wood in that lineup last year. They could have had CJ Abrams, who's super pesky and a better shortstop and hitter than Xander Bogaerts at this point in time. And then you've got Mackenzie Gore, a hard-throwing lefty who can hit 100 miles per hour, and they didn't have him in the postseason either last year or now because the Dodgers got to cease. They got to Michael King, and the Padres went down 24 consecutive scoreless innings. And I'm sure they would have loved to have James Wood in that lineup last year. Instead, they had that clown Jerks and Profar. Imagine an outfield of Tatis, Merrill, and James Wood. I would have already handed them the keys to probably being the front runners in the National League. But they blew it. Thank you, Preller. You don't have the core anymore, and you're scraping by because you don't have the funds to sign attractive free agents either. You let Blake Snell walk. Thank you.
Well done.
That's all I got. Any final thoughts, Jake?
I honestly, whether we want to classify this as a rivalry or not, I think that at the very least, the Dodgers Padres series is entertaining and maybe it's the most entertaining rivalry in all of baseball right now. Certainly it's must-watch TV every time these two teams get together because there is a lot of animosity on both sides, especially the fan bases get into it. But it is so lopsided. I mean, it is such a it's the most lopsided rivalry probably ever. I mean, you look at the Dodgers and Giants, how even that is. Yankees, Red Sox. I mean, even Yankees, Red Sox to me, is pushing the boundaries of a rivalry in the sense that, the Yankees pounded the Red Sox for years and were dominating, and they've won, 28 championships at this point. It's 27. They've won 27 championships at this point. So the fact that people are calling the Dodgers Padres a rivalry is just not really understanding what that means. I mean, it's got to be somewhat even. And the Dodgers have only been knocked out by the Padres once in the playoffs, and they've never been really unseated by them as division champs. I think the last time the Padres won the division, right, was like 2006 or something like that, when they had like Adrian Gonzalez and Jake Peavy. I feel like there needs to be more winning from the Padres here to call this a rivalry.
They won in 2006, like you just said. They only needed 88 wins to win the division.
I mean, come on. And that was during the McCourt era, so we hadn't even hit our stride yet.
No, and we were a wild card team because we lost to the Mets. 2006. Thanks to Grady Little. That was our big clean.
Yeah, Grady Little, bad manager.
So the last thing I just want to quickly touch upon, and I have no thoughts or opinions, but I found it interesting that when the Dodgers posted the statement, they said we've had some ICE enforcement show up in our parking lots and tried to get into our stadium, that we rejected them, that the U.S. government essentially was trying to start a Twitter feud with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You had the Department of Homeland Security respond back in a quote tweet denying that all these events even took place. And then you had the Twitter account for ICE, which I didn't even know that was a thing. They also denied all these actions as well. I mean, there's always going to be two sides to every story, and I don't have all the facts to give like an educated analysis to this. But I just find it funny that the U.S. government in this circumstance is just so insecure that they felt like they had to respond back to the Los Angeles Dodgers, when there's footage out there that there were some people, whether they were actually there or they were pretending to be under ICE or not, whatever. It's just funny to me that this whole thing blew up and became a huge media story.
Yeah, I couldn't understand how, what was true and what wasn't true. I felt like we never got to the bottom of, were they there? Were they not there? Who was there? Why were they there? They said that they weren't there for any, ICE operations. So why were they at Dodger Stadium if they weren't doing that? There's so many unknowns about this whole thing. But I do think, since we're on the subject, the Dodgers did put out a statement speaking about the issue relating to this. They said that in partnership with the city of Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Dodgers have committed $1 million toward direct financial assistance for families of immigrants impacted by recent events in the region. Then they also said in the coming days, the Dodgers intend to make additional announcements with local community and labor organizations, including the California Community Foundation, the LA County Federation of Labor, and others who are directly supporting our communities to aid youth and families with food insecurity, basic essentials, and mental health services. So that is something that that a lot of people have been asking for from the Dodgers. They've been kind of silent on this issue. So they are finally speaking out, and hopefully that means that something good is coming from this. I also found it curious why they hadn't commented on the situation. It seemed like something that not necessarily a layup in the sense, but like it was an easy decision to come out and say something about this, given the makeup of the fan base and the fact that they are Los Angeles's team.
W actions from a W organization. Good for the Dodgers. We're heading out. I'm excited to watch Shohei Ohtani pitch for the Dodgers on Sunday. That should be fun. And look out tonight. Ahmed Rosario, 2024 World Series champion in the Nationals lineup, hitting second. Keep an eye out on him. There could be some revenge on Ahmed Rosario's mind.
Okay.
Anything else, Jake?
That's it.
All right. Well, appreciate everyone tuning in with us. That was a fun series recap. So much tension, so much drama. The Padres are classless. We'll see them in August, and should be another fun series. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Incline Dodgers podcast. Subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcast, Google Podcast, or on the YouTube channel. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on so you don't miss a live show. And appreciate everyone. Have a good